So hi folks, furthering on from my previous video about the air filter modification on the Himalayan to fit a GS125 Suzuki airbox and foam intake onto the bike for more off-road applications. Another alternative thing that you could do is if you take the stock snorkel plate, so this is the stock air filter cover, and what I've done here is you can see it's enlarged. So the stock cover has two reinforcing vanes supports on the inside. I've basically cut those off, and I've used a hot air gun and I've just opened up and flared the intake ever so slightly, just so it's a bit more, so it's a larger intake. I've also put a chamfer, you can't really see it on the camera, but I've put a rounded radius, so where the air flows in, it's just rounded off slightly there. And obviously this is for bikes running like, well, I think it would help the stock bike, but certainly bikes where you're running like the Tech Cam and maybe an open pipe and it's just breathing a little bit more heavier than a stock bike. But I think it would make a difference on a stock bike as well, because this stock air filter plate is actually quite restrictive. That's why obviously DNA and other developers have come along with an open intake, which I've said previously does cause problems with too big an air intake, causes a reduction in airspeed. So although you're actually technically flowing more air with a slightly smaller intake, you get a faster airflow rate, so the two kind of contradict each other. But the reason I wanted to do this second part was just to show you that this is the stock filter. I'll put the part number in the description. It's a quality filter. They're about £8 in the UK, so they're very cheap. It's oiled. So looking at this HiFlo filter, there are two grades of foam. The actual foam at the end, you can see the thickness where it's glued on, actually isn't. You can see light through there. You can see it's thinner than the outer side. So what I've done on my, this is a spare filter, so what I've done on the other one, I've actually put inside there, I've just got some normal foam, just cut a foam disc, and I've just inserted a foam disc right at the very end of the filter, which basically blanks that off. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just cut a plastic disc and just sandwich a disc right in the very end, even a cap off like an aerosol container, something like that, just to seal that very end, because I think on the stock, on the airbox that this is designed to fit in, I think that butts right up to the very end. You see, obviously on the Himalayan, I think there's a very short gap. Everything else, the filter grade, the foam grade is very, it's very thick. So I'll show you again up at the light. You can see there. So the outside, you can see it's oiled, but obviously definitely at the end there it's a thinner quality foam. So a disc could go, if you put like a plastic disc in the back of there, or even some extra foam, that will just bolt that up. So if we get the stock airbox cover, like I say, doesn't have to be modified, the stock one will do. This one is modified, it's got a bigger intake, just heated it up and basically formed it in the plastic, and just to let a bit more air in there. This was a previous attempt to quieten the intake noise down, but that sits perfectly onto the top part of the filter, if you like. Now, so effectively what you would do with that is that would screw straight into the airbox, and you see the flange, and as you nip that up, you would trap the foam between the seal, and to be absolutely honest with you, I think that would do absolutely fine. So it's just another alternative to a filter for the Himalayan. Foam, oiled foam, more suitable certainly for off-road applications. In its stock form, it would work a treat. I mean, like I say, there is, it's oiled. The exterior foam is definitely a different grade foam to the end, as we've seen in the light. but even so, it's still, you know, it's still a good quality. And if you wanted to be, you know, I suppose if you wanted to be absolutely sure, if you were to just put a little disc in the back of there just to seal that end up, then you've got a very cheap oiled foam filter for about £10 in the UK, which obviously flows better than paper. Filters, certainly in the water and in dusty conditions, will last longer than paper, and most certainly would filter better than a DNA and a K&N in very dusty conditions. So there you go, folks. Just wanted to show you just an alternative. So HiFlo filter, I'll put the part number in the description. Stock Himalayan air filter cover that goes on the paper. Nip them two together, put that into the airbox. Presto, happy days. Thanks for watching.